Thank you.
It's a pleasure to be with you all here today. We're going to talk about conversion rate optimization. And we have a slide that's coming up here to talk what we might think of as actually... Oh, here's my clicker. Is this the clicker? Yes. Sweet. This is probably what you think I'm going to talk about when I say how to kill your conversion rate in 4 easy steps. But I'm actually not talking about your conversion rate here. In fact, if we could reverse that, it's actually going to be what we're going to talk about, this image here. But I'm going to share with you a mistake that I had made last year that is a little bit upsetting to me. I wrote a book called The Art of E-commerce Debugging, and I brought a few copies in here to show you all. It's for developers, and in reality, it is the book for how to solve problems quickly and effectively on your e-commerce site. But the problem is I wrote it for developers, and I really should have written it for retailers so that you all know exactly how to solve these problems on your website. Retailers are the real beneficiaries for getting problems solved quickly. And so as a result, I'm going to give out some of these books here at the end. I normally charge $40 for them, but if you all want them, I don't expect you to take it home and jump into the code right away yourselves. But I mean, if you did, write me a testimonial. I'd love that. That'd be cool. But use this as a way to vet the people you're talking to, you're working with. Do they use a good methodology for solving problems? Talking about conversion rate optimization, I have what I would consider a unique perspective on this. You look at me and you say, oh, he's on the solutions track, so that means he is going to be trying to sell me. Not in the slightest. I bring a perspective that's unique because we are a retailer ourselves. We are small compared to those of you that are in here. But we do a lot of training on Adobe Commerce, which means we've helped a lot of people get certified. And we sell digital goods. We now sell this book. So that's kind of a whole different area of fulfillment. So we bring that. So it's personal to us, what I'm talking about. The other aspect is, again, we're a service provider. So we get a aggregation of people that we're working with and get to see the mistakes that they make and, of course, help them be able to fix that. Conversion rate optimization, I think it has somewhat earned a similar title to search engine optimization. There are these people out there that make bukus money, and who knows what they really are doing in the long run. But what I'm going to talk about here today is, call it some fundamentals of conversion rate optimization that as we chase the big projects, as we look for the big fish, it's easy to miss the basic stuff. We're going to be talking about 4 topics here today. And if I could take a religious but also cynical spin to this, we're going to look at how to kill your conversion rate, but then how to bring it back to life. So let's look at these 4 areas. Number 1, sprinkle some stuff into your checkout. You see, the checkout is the final aspect of the customer journey, and for obvious reasons, it is a complex part of the customer journey. If you were to do some, I don't know, research and say, okay, if I'm going to do some conversion rate optimization, what would I look at? Well, here's what UPS did a study, and these are the things you should work on. I mean, these are basic common sense ideas, and I mean, they're good ideas. I'm sure all of you know these are important to keep in mind. I'm not talking about these. Let's go to the real nuts and bolts. Number 1, if you want to kill your conversion rate in your checkout, never use your website. Never test it. Because if you were to test it, if you were to work through this process, you will find some problems with this. I've heard of them referred to as glitches, gremlins. A while ago, we delivered a website, a new update, and a client called us and said, we just dropped to 0% conversion rate on Internet Explorer. I mean, this was years ago. But yeah, there was something that was missed in that process for a very specific and very small segment of their users. It is a problem. So one way to resolve this problem is at a very basic level. Well, I kind of put it in tiers here, MFTF and Cypress, which are developer-friendly automation tools. But Ghost Inspector is something that anyone who is technical or not technical can get in and write a series of tests. You just basically click through your checkout, enter information in, it saves it, and you can repeatedly run this after every deploy. So this is putting peace of mind control into your hands to ensure that the checkout process works at a basic level well. Now here's the issue with the checkout. And I think this is why nobody wants to get into the checkout. It means getting our hands really dirty. Here is this list of aspects to testing the checkout. But if we could put it a little bit more simply, it kind of looks like this type of a workflow, which kind of sucks. Like, how are you going to actually test that? So my suggestion is take the most important routes that are important to your customer base. For example, I put reorder over on the side and on the guest side. If you don't have many reorders, or if your reorder process is not heavily customized like it is for some of our customers, then you don't have to test that. So work through an org chart like this, identify the most important aspects of or the most common customer journeys, and then build out tests to accommodate that. That's the first aspect of killing your conversion rate in the checkout. But let's go on. This would be better titled as, oh, here it is. Actually, this is the right title up here. So prevent them from using their preferred or favorite form of payment. Google Pay, Apple Pay, and ultimately Bolt Checkout are some fantastic options to facilitate and make it very easy for your customers to get through the checkout. This is a real problem for custom aspects that have been added to checkouts. If you were requesting extra information, for example, if you sell clothes and like custom fitted clothes and you're asking for customer weight, height, and information to make sure that this, I don't know, what they've ordered as a double check is the right choice, you've probably built out those fields in the checkout, and it's really easy when they enter those fields in and then, oh, whoops, I forgot to add something to my cart. They click back out of it, they come back into the checkout page, and they have forgotten what was added. Now, even worse than that is if those fields are not required. And if they're not required, they miss entering those in, and you ship them a wrong product along those lines. Can be a real problem. That's not specifically conversion rate, but losing customer details is a great way to help kill the conversion rate. Adds frustration. You can also make it's a great way to add some ambiguity. I have a slide here of a site we did an audit on, and we have a choose a delivery date, but once you select choose delivery date, you then have to see continue to payments and review in the upper corner, which begins grayed out. It's disabled. You are unable to make a selection there. So even if you did see it on the side there, you can't do anything about it until you've worked through choose a delivery date. Remember the F pattern. We browse websites deepest at the top, and it becomes more shallow as it goes down. That is pretty much out of that F pattern because I even scrolled down to get to this screenshot. This is a great way to confuse customers and cause frustration in the checkout by making things obscure. Now, if we want a bonus, this is another common problem. Make them wait a long time. Once they click place order, make them wait 30 seconds. I've seen it longer than this. So if they have to wait there, then at least they'll be wondering if their order went through. I don't know. But all that to say, if we are able to bring this back to life, if we have sunk our conversion rate, let's have a couple takeaways here. Number one, you will never regret having a solid testing regimen. That's one thing we work through with our customers. Make sure that even working through an Excel spreadsheet, before you even get to Ghost Inspector, have a list of test scenarios that are easily communicable and that can be run through by anybody in the organization, whether it's with your service provider agency or whether you do it yourself. Make sure it's easy for customers to pay, and test out and make sure that information is saved in the checkout. Let's move on. We talked about the checkout, the problems that are occurring there. Let's talk about helping customers find what they need, or the specific products that they need. The number one thing is, for those of you that have brick and mortar store retail, we don't want to replicate the in-store experience. So think about how it works when you go into a store, unless it's Sears, God rest their souls. You generally get decent help. So you tell the salesperson what you need, and there's a reason brick and mortar still exists, because trying on shoes or whatever, like you see it right there and in person, and hopefully the sales staff is good. But that doesn't translate easily online. But if you were trying to solve that problem, I would not recommend wanting to consider a quiz, because that actually might solve that problem. Here is a test. Like I said, we sell stuff online, and here is a test that we have done ourselves. It had a significant impact on our conversion rate right here, helping the customer get to this specific certification for Adobe Commerce that they wanted to get to. They come to the site, they see, 5, 6, 7, there's about 7 at the time when we tested this, certifications. They're like, which one do I prepare for? And they get overwhelmed. This solved the problem. But if you were trying to kill your conversion rate, I would recommend against a quiz. Here's another option. Living Proof talked about that at eTail East. And it's been very successful for them. We worked on this project, and it's a brilliant idea. Marlowe White, we didn't come up with this idea, to be clear. Marlowe White, they sell military uniforms. So as somebody's coming to the website, they're thinking, okay, well, I'm in the Army and I need this type of uniform, etc. Well, they have a drop-down list to help them find exactly the uniform they want in the navigation menu. That's basically a quiz, but built into the navigation. It's absolutely brilliant. But it kind of brings up a key point. If you were to do this accidentally or whatever, don't segment your data off of this. Don't save this information, because if you were to save and segment your information, specifically targeting these customers, you actually might bump your conversion rate back up. So make sure to stay away from using a quiz even in the navigation. Benchmade, great example. We built something like this out for simplifiedbuilding.com. This is using Typeform. I'll put this up on the slides here in a minute. Typeform, I don't know, it's $30, $40 a month. Super easy to install. There is one downside, and I'll talk about that here in a second. You can literally build out a quiz in, I don't know, being generous, 2 days, probably 4 hours in reality. Ask them questions and point them to the product that they want. Here is the net result. Visit the page. Makes it very easy for customers to sift through significant numbers of products. So Typeform is the one that we have used and I like, except that you can't get any, thanks to GDPR, segmentation data out of that. So that is an option. Revenue Hunt is a new contender in the market, and I highly recommend looking at them. They have a Magento Adobe Commerce integration here out of the box. Like I said earlier, you would also want to make sure to discard every single result out of that, because otherwise, if you did have the segmentation data, you can target them in your email platforms and remarketing and all that stuff. So yeah, keep this in mind. You would avoid all product recommendations. Adobe Commerce obviously has Sensei built in, so this is artificial intelligence, nice buzzword there. Product recommendations, which are quite good. We have, Algolia also has a tool. I'll be talking about Algolia here in a little bit. That is also really powerful for that, but there is no Magento integration for that at this point. Another key point here, if you want to kill your conversion rate, delete your About Us page. And if you did accidentally have that or want to keep it for some reason, make sure to take all human aspects off of that. It's make it look like a big corporation. Baked by Melissa here in New York City, they made the mistake, if you want to put it that way, of putting some really friendly pictures up there, which gives a heart connection. And a heart connection can never hurt in a stale internet. Well, it can hurt if you're trying to kill your conversion rate in a stale internet world. So, if we were wanting to resurrect our conversion rate, how are we going to do that? Quizzes are absolutely fantastic. Hopefully I have sold you on that. They are not difficult to build out. You get to point them to the exact products that you feel are best, hopefully are the best fit for customers. Make sure that when customers come to a product page, a landing page, that they not only have the product that Google chose for them, in this case, make sure that they have other options, because that product might be an 80% fill 80% of the requirements that this customer is looking for, and they might leave because that other 20% is missing. So if you can fill out those recommendations, you will never hurt. And then put yourself out there on the About Us page. So number 1, destroy your checkout. Number 2, prevent your customer from finding what they need. And number 3, I think, is one of my favorites. Make your website as difficult to navigate as possible. Now, some calls this accessibility, and in our world, accessibility is becoming more and more important. In other words, we think of accessibility in the way of helping people with disabilities be able to access and navigate our website. But what really opened my eye in this department was the term situational disability. And that is when we are outside, for example, using our phone trying to navigate a website, not the iPhone 14, they're brighter or something like that, but trying to navigate a website on our phone outside can be very difficult. Contrast ratios are a great example of that. Think about a hero image or a carousel image with a beautiful picture and then the text overlaid in a barely discernible color. Well, we might be able to see it on our computer screens in the office, but when we go outside, forget about it. So situational or accessibility will benefit across the board. However, I think one of the best ways to do this, well, actually back to my killing the conversion rate, is to make it very slow. Unfortunately, Adobe Commerce does have somewhat of a reputation for this, and I think it comes from the Magento marketplace. I'm not knocking any of that. There's a lot of great modules out there, but if you want to make it very slow, make an investment of, say, 30 to 50 modules, and ideally, I probably shouldn't say this, but it starts with the letters A or M, like the module vendor. You can make it pretty slow, and it'll be difficult to use, and that will kill your conversion rate right there. We did an audit for a company in the Kansas City area. They migrated from Magento 1 to Magento 2. Their brilliant designer made a recommendation, or they just built it out like this, for a small font size. It was like the new design fad. It's like old was big, new was small. And they came to us saying our sales are down, our conversion rate is doing pretty poor. So we went and looked at it, did an audit, and as we were examining Google Analytics, we found that segmenting by age, generally speaking, as Google does, the 18 to 24 era and the 24 to 36, that actually had a little bit of a pickup in conversion rate. But as soon as you got to 45 on up, there was a steep drop-off. So as we were comparing the old site and the new site, that's where the font size became apparent. You see, the problem for them is, I think it was about 40% of their previous revenue, 40 to 50% of their previous revenue, was actually from the older segments of the market. They were spending all the money on this, it was a specialty food website. Make it hard for some people to use your website, and you will kill your conversion rate. Another way, use the default Magento search engine. I'm not saying that Elasticsearch, the normal search engine, is bad, but there's a lot better ones out there. Obviously, Adobe has the live search that is available, but we have really liked Algolia. We helped PleasantHillGrain.com achieve, I think it was a 15% increase for people who use search on their site, increasing conversion rate when they used Algolia. So that is a great tool. We like it and recommend it. Obviously, it is an extra cost, and if you're using Adobe Commerce, live search is there, immediately available, so probably would want to start with that. Continuing on, ensure the text in your carousel images blend in with the background. This is a real problem, especially if you go through like an accessibility audit. They're going to pop that out right away. But what's worse than finding it in an accessibility audit is when you get a letter from a lawyer saying your website has some problems and we're going to sue you for this. So make sure that that text on the carousel, even if you think it looks ugly right now, make sure it's easily readable. Zooming into mobile. I took the logo off of this, but I was browsing a website recently, and I'm like, where the heck is the mobile menu? And it comes back to, don't use your website. That first thing, if you want to mess up your conversion rate. Well, it turns out, if you just give this a little scroll here, you can see the logo pop up right next to the search icon over there, which is not ideal, but it is what it is. It's pretty easy to see, but it's easy to see after the fact, but that can represent a big problem when people are using your website. Again, test your website. If I could put a bonus in here, accessibility is a real deal. There are people who need to use your website who are visually impaired, who are mobility impaired, etc. Make sure to test your website with this. There is tools out there for this, and be happy to share those with you afterwards. It is a big deal, and it's becoming a bigger deal and a source for plenty of lawsuits. So save money, deal with this problem now, as opposed to having to be forced to deal with it by going through the legal system, which is not a pleasant process. So looking at the bright side here, your performance matters way more than you think it does. Fix it right. Get somebody who can deal with that. And please don't just install a module because it's available. If it fits a need, do it, that's great. But find the right module to fix that problem or to solve that need. Make sure your website is easily accessible, and even in environments you're not thinking of. My grandmother, when she navigates a website, she has plenty to say about that. Think about it in those type of terms. And then number 4, moving on, we now have some product reviews. And like I said, this is not typical areas to talk about conversion rate optimization, but I think they are incredibly important regardless. So reviews, I'm sure you know, are the lifeblood of social proof. When we go to Amazon, we immediately look to see how many reviews are for this product. And of course, if you don't have reviews, that's a bit of a problem. So this is about how to get those review numbers up. Number 1, do not request reviews from happy customers. If you have a happy customer, just ignore them. Just forget about that if you want to kill your conversion rate. Consider how you can implement these review requests with whatever tools you're using to sync up, ideally, your review request with the day or two after the product arrives. Unfortunately, most tools, basically all the tools that I'm aware of, allow you to specify 14 days or 10 days or just pick a number. But reality is the customer is happiest. Think about when we get a package in the mail. We're happiest when the package arrives at our house. I'm like, yay, I get to look at well, sometimes I don't even know what I ordered if it's from Amazon. So try to synchronize the timing of your reviews and test some of that. Maybe it's the day of or the day after. Maybe it's a couple weeks after. Whatever works best, find the best timing for that. And keep shipping times take shipping times into consideration. If you're in New York, it's going to take 5-6 days to get to California, so you can't necessarily say 3 days. So there could be some custom work in order to get this set. The other thing is to not take a review request as a actual request, something that you are asking from the customer, but instead make it a sales opportunity. Like, try to get them to come back. I mean, they just spent money on your website, so try to get them to come back and spend more money on your website. Chances are they will not want to do that. So if you stuff the review request with plenty of sales, you're probably going to get fewer reviews written on your website, which would work well in that case. Additionally, do not respond to negative reviews, or worse, if you get a negative review, delete it. I have seen that happen. Based off of research that I have seen, and I'm going to post a QR code here in a minute, some negative reviews are actually beneficial for the customer to see the full picture. You actually have a lower conversion rate if you have an average of 5 stars on a product than if you have, I think it's a 4.1 to 4.7 or 8, somewhere in there. So you want actually some negative reviews to bring that down so that people see that this product is legit. This is a little detail, but it can make a big difference. If you want to kill your conversion rate, well, kind of conversion rate in this case, make sure to leave off those reviews, the metadata off of your products. So it's pretty easy to do, and just make sure that those gold stars do not appear in Google. So let's look at the bright side. Request a customer's help with reviews, and that's what we found is the biggest way for success. Ask them for help. If they are truly delighted with your product, they should be pretty happy to help you out with writing a review, even if it's a short review. Make sure that the customer that all reviews go up and they're easily accessible. Here's a QR code and I can't remember the website it is, that talks about product reviews and gives you some additional information about making sure that they are legit and they are helpful. I will leave that up, but that is what I wanted to share with you all today. Thank you for listening, and it was a pleasure being with you here today. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions?
I was also going to say, if anybody wants this, I'm happy. I have brought books. I do not want to bring them back, so I would love to be able to give out to anybody who wants. Yeah. Oh yes, I will give them. Yes, whoever wants a book. We can do that now. All right. And I have more at the table, so if we run out, I got more. Oh, yes. Here you go. You don't read? Oh, then, okay. Hey, catch. Oh. Bad throw. Oh, I can get you some more. If you stop by, our table's right at the end. I can get you some more out there. Thank you. Good to see you, man.